Okay, right now we're going right to our share. There we go. Let's get the Mesechta right here, right now. Okay, here we are. Okay. And we are up to here.
Where, Rabbi?
Amar Rava, Gimel, Amid Beis.
Got you.
He has a hand there. Yeah, he has the hand. Yeah.
Gimel Amid Beis. Oh, it's about, let's see, it's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 lines down. Amar Rava.
Okay, got it.
12 lines down. Amar Rava. Okay. The Zeichen Nishmas Yitzchok Dov ben Nissen Eliezer. Mesechta Megilah, Daf Gimel Amid Beis. Amar Rava. Rava said, now we had a discussion till now. You've been talking about various mitzvahs, some of which are stricter than others. And in reference to our sugya, the question is, what about the mitzvah of reading in the Megilah? And there was a discussion on Amud Aleph, whether or not Mikra Megilah takes precedence over Talmud Torah. And we ended off at the end of last week's Shiur by saying that there's a difference between Talmud Torah the Yachid and Talmud Torah the Rabbin. We said that a Talmud Torah the Yachid is Kal, while a Talmud Torah the Rabbin is very chomor, is very strong. And now the Gemorah says the following, and we don't have to know anything necessarily about the past Gemorah, but we do have to focus on this Gemorah. Amar Rava. Rava comes along and makes the following statement. Shita li, it is obvious to me, avoda umikra Megilah, when it comes to doing the avoda in the Beis Hamikdash, or reading the Megilah, mikra Megilah odif, that the reading of the Megilah takes precedence with the Rabbi Yossi bar Chanina, because of the teaching of Rabbi. Good. I want to read it from my Gemara. It's a little easier for me. Okay. Because of the teaching of Rabbi Yossi bar Rabbi Chanina, who on the previous Amud, we're going to go back to it right now. We're going to go quickly up to the beginning of the Amud. Rabbi Yossi bar Rabbi Chanina came along and he said that we learn out from the words mishpacha u'mishpacha. What does it come from? Rabbi Yossi bar Rabbi Chanina said, Lahavi mishpachos kahuna u'leviyah, to teach us that the families of the Kahanim and the Leviim, shemavatlin avodasan, they stop their work, they mavatl their work, and they come to hear the reading of the Megilah. You remember we had a discussion, the Tosfos on the top said, when it said mavatlin, it means even if they just push it off for a little bit and they come late. Okay, so from Rabbi Yossi bar Rabbi Chanina, and that's today's Gemara, we're going back to today's Gemara over here. So he said that Amar Rava, Shita li, it's obvious to me, avoda umikra Megilah is adif, mid Rabbi Yossi bar Rabbi Chanina, because of the teaching of Rabbi Yossi bar Rabbi Chanina, who said that you are mevatel the avoda. It doesn't mean mevatel it completely, because you can't take the oraisa law and take away the oraisa law for the Rabbanan thing. But what it meant to say was that we push it second place, and we read the Megilah and then do the avoda, because you can do the avoda a little bit later, but you're pushing it off. That's called mevatlin. Okay, next. So Rabbi say, I want you to keep in mind, here we go. All right? When it comes to the avoda and mikra Megilah, which comes first?
Megilah.
Mikra Megilah. Even though it's the Rabbanan.
Right.
Why? Because you're not getting rid of the other one, right? But you're pushing it off because of the pasuk mishpacha u'mishpacha. The mishpachas of the Kahanim and the Leviim are putting off their work in order to read mikra Megilah. Next. Talmud Torah u'mikra Megilah. What about the study of Torah and the reading of the Megilah? we learned in last week's Shiur, Mikra Megilah Odif. The reading of the Megilah takes precedence. How do we know that? From here, from the fact that we said, Midisamchu shel beis Rebbe, because of what Rebbe did. Again, on the previous Amud, we said, Midisamchu shel beis Rebbe, that since we have a kal v'chomer of avoda and Torah, therefore, Beis Rebbe was samchu shel Beis Rebbe shemevatl Talmud Torah uboin l'shmoa mikra Megilah kal v'chomer avoda, and they learned it out from the avoda. Uma avoda shehi chamura mevatlin Talmud Torah lo kol shkein. And we said that the Talmud Torah was a Talmud Torah of a Yachid. Okay, so now we have two things that we learned today. We're going to review very quickly. Here we go. Let's keep them in mind. Number one, Rava said it's obvious that Avoda and Mikra Megilah is first. Rabbi Yossi ben Chanina, who learned it out from Mishpacha, and Talmud Torah Mikra Megilah is better from the teaching of Beis Rebbe that they were mevatel the Avoda, certainly mevatel Talmud Torah. Now comes the third one. Talmud Torah umeis mitzvah. Two mitzvahs in front of you. The study of Torah and a meis mitzvah. What's a meis mitzvah? There are different definitions.
No, but bury him.
There are different definitions of a meis mitzvah.
Oh, yeah?
The most obvious definition is that if you don't bury him, there's no one else to bury him.
Right.
But the fact is that when it comes to certain mesim, they are considered meis mitzvah. Give me an example of someone who died that it would be a mitzvah to be mevatel whatever you're doing to go to that levaya.
A big wealth? I don't know.
Okay, a gadol hador.
Yeah.
A gadol hador.
Yeah.
If two people show up at the gadol hador's funeral because everybody's working, that's a shanda.
Yeah.
So to go to his levaya is a meis mitzvah. So there are different categories of meis mitzvah. But let's go with the plain category of meis mitzvah. Okay? And now the question of the Gemara is, okay, Talmud Torah umeis mitzvah, what takes precedence? Meis mitzvah odif. How do we know that? How do we know that a meis mitzvah is better than Talmud Torah? Says the Gemara, midetanya, because we have a brisa that says, mevatlin Talmud Torah lo tzos hameis. You are mevatel Talmud Torah in order to take out the dead body, ulahachnosas kala, and for the bringing in of the kala. And last week we had a whole discussion on what achnosas kala constitutes, and we said it means getting her into the chuppah. Now we have a number of things here to review. We have avoda and mikra Megilah. Mikra Megilah is better. We have Talmud Torah, Mikra Megilah is better. We have Talmud Torah and meis mitzvah. Meis mitzvah is better, right? Okay. Now, avoda umeis mitzvah odif. What about doing the avoda and the meis mitzvah? Okay, the avoda takes second place to Mikra Megilah. Mikra Megilah takes first place over Talmud Torah. Meis mitzvah takes precedence over Talmud Torah and achnosas kala. So now, what about avoda and meis mitzvah? What about avoda and meis mitzvah? They seem to be both pretty strong. Which one takes precedence? You have to do the avoda or a meis mitzvah. Which one takes precedence? So Gemorah says, meis mitzvah odif. A meis mitzvah comes before the avoda. How do we know that? So the Gemorah says, mi vela acho so. From the pasuk that says vela acho so. Okay? I'm going to read the next line of the Gemara, and then I'm going to show you the pasuk. But just remember, what we want to do is prove from the pasuk of vela acho so that a meis mitzvah is better than the avoda. How we're going to prove that is going to be evident soon. But let's first learn the next line of the Gemara, which is going to try to help us understand this. Here it goes. It says, the Tanya, because we learned in the Brisa, Vela acho so. In the pasuk, it says Vela acho so. Ma talmud loma. What do I need that pasuk Vela acho so to teach me? I'll show you the pasuk in a minute. All right. Haresha haya holech lishchot es pischo v'lomal es beno v'shama shameis lo meis. Here's a guy who's on the way to slaughter his korban pesach or to give a bris milah to his son, and he hears that someone died. Yochol yita mo. You might think you're allowed to be metame to the mace mitzvah. Now wait a minute. If you're on the way to slaughter your korban pesach and you are then metame to a mace mitzvah, what's going to happen?
They can't do korban pesach.
You're not going to be able to do the korban pesach. What is the punishment for not bringing?
We're talking about a Kohen, not Kohen, anybody, right?
Oh, good question. There we go. Okay. What's the punishment for not bringing the korban pesach?
Kohes.
It's a chiyuv kares. What's the punishment for not doing a bris milah on your son?
Kohes.
Kares. Okay. So here's two things. You're on the way to slaughter your korban pesach and to give a circumcision to your son, which is an isur kares. V'shama shemeis lo meis, and he hears that there's a meis mitzvah around. Yachol, not a meis mitzvah. He's got someone in his family that died. Yachol yitama. You would think, well, he has to be metama because it's a relative. Amrit lo yitama. The pastor said, no, you're not supposed to be metama. Yachol kashem she'ena metama la'achoso. You would think, just like you're not metama to your sister, kach ena metama l'meis mitzvah, so you can't be metama to a meis mitzvah. Talmud loma v'la'achoso. La'achoso hu de'ena metama. You can't be metama to your sister, aval metama l'meis mitzvah. Okay, now, we just learned the piece of Gemara. It doesn't make any sense, but we went through it. I want to show you, what are we talking about over here? What's this v'la'achoso? What's it shining in over here? Where does it come from? And what is the teaching of v'la'achoso? So, what we're going to do is we're going to first learn the psukim, and we're going to do that. We're going to do that by going to the share. Back, I'm not stopping the share. Okay, I'm not stopping the share. I'm going to go. Oops, not going to stop the share. I'm just going to go make this one smaller and get the other one. Okay, here's the second one. Okay, here's the second share. Here we go. Right here. Okay, here we go. Okay. Here is the law of a Nazir.
Oh.
Okay, the law of a Nazir. Here's the law of a Nazir. Okay, let me move this over a little bit so you can get the whole pasuk. Okay, here it is. By the way, this has to do with the Daf Yomi too, interestingly enough. Okay.
Nazir is next.
And Nazir is the next Mesechta, right? Nazir is the next Mesechta. All right. Nazir can be found in Sefer Bamidbar, Perik, Zion. You see highlighted the black. We're going to come to that in a minute. Let's read the psukim before that, just to get an indication of what we're talking about. We see that Hashem spoke to Moshe saying, tell the Jewish people, a man or a woman, if they act wondrously and make a neder to be a Nazir to Hashem. This morning we discussed in Daf Yomi that a woman could be a Nazir based on the pasuk, Isha Isha. Here it is. Okay. Now, what are they restricted? First of all, Miyayim V'Shecha Yazir. They can't drink any wine. They can't have any product of wine, no vinegar of wine, not even grape juice of wine. None of these things are they allowed to eat. Pasuk Dalet. Let's go right now to Pasuk Dalet, right here, Pasuk Dalet. All the days of his Naziris, anything made from the grape of wine, from the pits, from the shells, none of this. He can't have. Pasuk Hey. Next restriction. All the days he's a Nazir, he can't shave with a razor. Right. He can't cut his hair. Gadol Paris Arosho. His hair's got to grow long. A Nazir cannot take a haircut. He can't take a haircut. All right. So 3 things. So far, 2 we got. 1, wine. 2, haircuts. Here's number 3 in the black.
Ami Mace.
Kol Yemei Aziro Lashem Al Nefesh Meis Lo Yavo. All the days that he's a Nazir, he can't come to any dead body, right?
Right.
So if it says Al Nefesh Meis Lo Yavo, stop right there. You can't go and be Metama to any dead body, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Next. La'aviv u'le'imo la'achiv la'achosa lo yitamo lehem b'mosam. To his father, to his mother, to his brother, to his sister, he cannot be metama to them when they die. What's extra here? What's extra in this pasuk?
Right.
Why don't I have to say that? Because you already said, Kol Yemei Aziro Lashem Al Nefesh Meis Lo Yavo. You can't come to any dead body.
They might think
Any
compared
dead
to
body.
might compare to a Cohen.
You might compare it to a Kohen.
The Cohen could go to the
Yeah, but why should I compare it to a Kohen?
I don't know.
But
On the other one,
does it say by the Kohen Al Nefesh Meis Lo Yavo?
does it? I don't know.
Okay, we'll take a look in a minute. We're going to see
Okay.
it. But here it says, why do I have to say that?
Yeah.
It said already, I'll never space lo yavo. This is extra. So each one of these words is extra. Okay? Each one of these words is extra. Mamish extra. Okay? So we have to darshan each and every one. Why does it say la'aviv? Why does it say la'imo? Why does it say la'achiv? Why does it say la'achoso? What do we need it for? It shouldn't be there. Right?
Yeah.
Okay. By the way, being you raised the issue, let's take a look if we can find what happens with Kohen. Okay. Let's go here to a Kohen. Here we have a Kohen over here. Okay. We'll get to the Kohen over here. Let's see if we can make it a little smaller. Just okay. Pasha Zemor. Vayom Hashem Moshe Emor al Kohenim b'nei Aaron. Okay, so it starts pretty much the same, right? You can't be metama to anybody, right? Right? Hello? Yeah. Well, let's go a little further. Okay, all of a sudden, the pasuk says, Ki imlish ero akaro velo. Except for the one that's close to him, his wife. Right?
Right.
Le'imo ula'aviv. No, levita ula'achiv ula'choso absula krovo elav asher lo yisalish lo yitama. So here it says who you can be metama to.
But does anybody knows that?
Oh, I don't need this by a nazir, because here the pasuk is telling you who you can be metama to, while over there, if we go back to our good friend the nazir, it doesn't have to say it at all. Let me get back to my nazir friend. Okay.
No, why wouldn't you compare the Nazir to the Cohen?
Why should you?
Why not? Because both
All you gotta say,
can't be.
all you gotta say is Kol Yemei Aziro Lashem Al Nefesh Meis Lo Yavo. Why should I compare it to a Kohen?
Yeah.
Why? It's not mentioned in the pasuk with a Kohen.
Because Cohen also can't be Matamid Mace.
No, but by the Kohen it says he could be Matama to his father and mother. Right?
Right.
But by the Nazir it says you can't be Matama to anybody. In addition, you can't be Matama l'choso.
No, you might think you could.
Why should I think that?
You might compare it to Cohen.
Why?
Because Cohen can't be Matama either.
No, but a Kohen can be Matama to his father and mother.
Because of the pasuk.
Okay,
So you may
good news. So if I don't have a pasuk, I can't be Matama.
Okay.
Why? What would be in my mind that I should compare them?
Okay.
If the pasuk says that I can't go to any mace, right?
Yeah.
Right? I'll never mace lo yavo.
Yeah.
Leave it at that. By the Kohen, when it says that, it says, however, you can be Matama. Let's go back to the Kohen. See where it says by the Kohen. Because if we see the pasuk by the Kohen, it becomes a little clearer. Okay? By the Kohen, it says, L'nefesh lo yitama be'amav. But with these exceptions. Okay? That's exceptions. But by the Nazir, it doesn't mention.
No exceptions. There's no exception.
Possession.
Okay? Okay, so what do
So
I
if
need?
there are no exceptions, you're right. Why is it mentioned the sister?
Why does it mention the father, the mother, the brother, the
Yeah.
sister?
If there are no exceptions, there are no
No
exceptions.
exceptions is no exceptions. Exactly right. Exactly right. Okay. All right. Okay. So we got to have a reason for this. All right. Guess what? Our Gemorah is going to explain this whole thing. Here we go. Okay. Let's get to our Gemorah. I hope I'm putting the right one over here. Yay, here we go. I got it. Back to our Gemorah. Here we go. Now watch. So we got to learn this sugya, because if we don't learn this, we can't go further. Who do you think explains this? My good friend Rashi right over here. Okay. Right? Okay, let's go back to the Gemara. We'll see it inside, and then we'll understand what's going on. Okay. All right. It says, Talmud Torah meis mitzvah other Tanya Vatal Talmud Torah tzazah meis. Let's call it meis mitzvah odif, right? Here we have the question. Avoda umeis mitzvah. You do have two mitzvahs in front of you. One's the avoda, and one is a meis mitzvah. Which one is better? Avoda umeis mitzvah. Meis mitzvah odif. How do we know that? Mivalach so. Says Rashi here. Mivalach so. Because the Tanya, we learned in the Brisa. V'la'ach so. Ma Talmud lomar. What does the extra word v'la'ach so come to teach me? And we just saw the pasuk. I want to refresh your memory. It says la'avu u'le'imo la'achi v'la'ach so. Here's Rashi up here. V'la'ach so ma Talmud lomar. You see my hand up here?
Yeah.
Here you go. Gabe Nazir Ksiv, by the Nazir, it's written, Al Nefesh Meis Lo Yavo. You can't be Matama to any Nefesh Meis. Hare Hakol B'mashma. Everything's included. Everything's included, right?
Yeah.
Hadar Ksiv Basrei, and right after that it writes, Kra in the pasuk, right? Yisera, Hadar Ksiv Basrei Kra Yisera. Right after that, it writes an extra pasuk, La'aviv ule'imo la'achiv la'achoso lo yitama. Why do I have to say that extra? Rashi explains, Dorish le b'sifri. The Sifri explains this pasuk and all the extra words. La'aviv lo yitama. To your father, you can't be mitama if you're a Nazir.
Yeah.
Which is stricter, the Nazir or the Kohen?
Nazir.
Nazir.
Yeah.
Why?
Because
The Kohen could be mitama to his father.
Because there's no exception.
What?
No, I'm saying there are no exceptions by the Nazir.
Right.
That's
Right.
Even in Mace Mitzvah, right?
Wait.
Oh,
Be patient.
Yeah.
Be patient. Okay. Don't jump the gun here.
Okay, yeah.
Here we go. It says, La'aviv lo yitama. It mentions the father to tell you, I want you to be medayek. You can't be mitama to your father. Aval mitama hu l'meis mitzvah.
Oh.
I'm mentioning the father extra. I don't have to mention the father because I said l'nefesh meis lo yavo. I'm mentioning the father to be medayek. I want you to derive and understand of this, that I'm mentioning the father you can't be mitama to. But you can be mitama to a meis mitzvah. I'm specifically mentioning the father you can't be mitama to tell you that you could be mitama to a meis mitzvah. Okay?
How do you figure out Mace Mitzvah from father?
Oh, we'll get to that. We'll get to that later. That's a good question. Okay, but the Sifri learns that out, right?
But I don't understand if you can't, because you can be mitama to your father, but you could be mitama to a bes mitzvah.
I don't have to mention father.
How did that help?
Because it's as if the pasuk is saying, when I said you can't be mitama to any mace, I want you to know that to your father, he's any mace. But a mace mitzvah, you can be matama. I'm specifically mentioning your father to teach you that even though your father is as close to you as possible, and you would think you should be matama, I am letting you know to your father you can't be matama, but you can be matama to a mace mitzvah.
My
Why
question
can't
is,
you just say?
again,
Why can't you just
I
say
don't
straight?
understand that.
Why
I
can't you
don't
just
really
say?
understand how does
Hold on,
the father come to
hold on.
Mes Mitzvah?
We didn't learn how that teaches it. All we learned was
You have to mute somebody.
mute,
There's a lot
yes,
of background noise.
I hear it. Sorry, somebody's making noise and has to be muted. Let me, I can't, I have to get the, let me see if I can do this without stopping the shit. I think so. Yeah.
Okay, it's quiet now.
I'm muting all, no, good, it's done. Okay, everybody's muted, okay. If you want to talk now, you'll have to press unmute, okay. All right. The
My
basic,
question was only, how does the being metama, not being metama to your father, how do you learn that to a Mes Mitzvah
Okay.
you are?
all right, so let's take it one step at a time. It didn't have to say father, right? It didn't have to say father. Because you can't be metama to anyone. So why did it say father? Who's got an unmute on? I muted everybody, so if you have an unmute on, it's coming from your house. Please mute. All right. If it says that you can't be metama to anyone, and then the Torah goes out of its way to mention father, there's a reason why it's mentioning father. There's got to be a reason why. We're going to see later that reason is to teach us that I'm specifically mentioning father, so you should know that even though you're very close to your father, you still can't be metama to him. But I want you to know that I'm mentioning father to teach you that you can be metama to a mace mitzvah. How we're going to learn that is going to come later on. But you have to understand that I didn't have to say this word. If the Torah added this word, and the Torah doesn't waste the word, it's there to teach me something that is not being directly taught by that word, because I don't need that word to tell me I can't be metama to my father. To tell me I can't be metama to a father, I know from kol nafshos meis lo yavo. So
Is that one of the ways of darshaning, like Cloud Prat? Do you take?
Okay, well, that's a separate issue. In the meantime, let's just understand one thing. I don't have to mention father.
Right.
I'm mentioning it, says the Sifri. I'm mentioning it to teach that you can't be metama specifically even to your father, but you can be metama to a mace mitzvah. And I did it this way for a reason, which we're going to see later on. Be patient for that reason, okay? I understand the kasha that Beryl's asking. It's a good kasha. Where do you see it from? We'll see. But in the meantime, La'aviv is teaching me that I can't be metama to the father, but I can be metama to the mace mitzvah. That's what the Sifri learns. Let's go further in the Rashi, because he's quoting the Sifri. Okay, so let's go. Harei hakol b'mashma. Hadar ksiv basrei kro yisera la'aviv l'imo la'achav la'choso darish lo b'sifri la'aviv lo yitama avol metama hu l'meis mitzvah. Next, le'imo. Right? Now it says your mother you can't be metama. Ma talmud lomar. Why do I need that for? Says Rashi, quoting the Sifri, She'im haya kohen v'nazir.
Oh,
Let's say the person was a double whammy. He's got two kedushas. He's a kohen and a nazir, both of whom are not allowed to make themselves tamei, right? Af al pi she'kadosh beis kedushos. Even though this man now has two big kedushos, le'imo lo yitama. He cannot be metama to his mother from both sides. Neither the Kohen side, nor the Nazir side. The Kohen would be able to be metama to his mother, But because he's a Nazir, he can't be Matama to his mother. Yeah? Aval Matama Hu L'meis Mitzvah. Even though he has two Kedushas, even though he's a Nazir and a Kohen could be Matama to the mother. A Nazir can't be Matama to the mother. But even though he's a Kohen and a Nazir, and you would think, powerful combination, a Kohen and a Nazir, whoa, he shouldn't be Matama to anybody. You're right. To his mother, he can't be Matama, but he can be Matama to a Meis Mitzvah. Again, we're going to see how we learn this out. Then it says, La'achid, mentioned brother and sister, right? La'achid, what's it teaching us? Watch this, watch this. She'em aya Kohen Gadol v'Nazir. If the man is not just an ordinary Kohen, he's a Kohen Gadol. And by the way, a Kohen Gadol cannot be Matama to any relative.
Right.
Right?
When he makes mitzvah.
Oh, so even though this man is a Kohen Gadol, and in addition to being a Kohen Gadol, he's also a Nazir. He's got a double whammy on himself.
Yeah.
He can't be Matama to his brother, but he can be Matama to a Meis Mitzvah. Wow. La'achiv lo yitama, aval Matama hu l'meis Mitzvah. But he can be Matama to a Meis Mitzvah. Okay, we have one left. We started Le'imo, Le'aviv, Le'imo, La'achiv. We now have Vil'achoso left. Says Rashi, quoting the Sifri, that al karchacha kulhu l'ma'ute Meis Mitzvah. Awesome. You must say that all of them come to exclude that you can be Matama to a Meis Mitzvah. How do we get that? How do we get that? How do we get that all of them must be telling us that you can be Matama to a Meis Mitzvah? And this was the question that Beryl asked. This is the question, it's the question everybody's wondering. Understand? Okay, it says, okay, but how does that learn out?
I have another question. Why can't the pasuk just say Mes Mitzvah you are allowed to? That's it, instead of going round and about.
Well, which case would you be talking about?
In all cases, they're allowed to be Matama to a Meis Mitzvah, no?
Well, I would think maybe only an ordinary guy, but maybe a Kohen Gadol and a Nazir not.
Why doesn't the pasuk say that the Kohen Gadol is allowed to be Matama to a Meis Mitzvah?
Oh, so you have now two psukim about letting a Meis Mitzvah. I'm using one word over here to teach it, and you want two psukim. That would be even more extra, no?
No, okay.
Right?
I hear.
Yeah. So what we want to do is we want to understand this a little bit, and I'm going to come to it in a minute. But first, let's go to the next line in Rashi. Okay. Al karchacha kulu l'me'ute meis mitzvah asu. Hilkach, therefore, im eino inyan lo. There's no applicability in this case. Tineu inyan lachavero. It's got to be on the other inyan, which is meis mitzvah. All right. V'lachoso ma Talmud loma. So what does v'lachoso come to teach us? Because that's the last one that's left. The im eno inyan le'elu tineu inyan le'inyan bitul avoda umila mipnei meis mitzvah. So now v'lachoso is going to teach us the one thing that's left. It can't be a Kohen and a Nazir. It can't be a Kohen Gadol and a Nazir. It can't be a Kohen and a Nazir who's Matama to the father or to the mother. It's going to be someone who is going to be mevatel the avoda and the bris milah, meaning the avoda of the Korban Pesach and the bris milah, both of which are chayiv kares mipnei meis mitzvah. How do we learn that out? Let's go back for a minute. Let's go back for a minute and try to get another look at the pasuk. Okay, let's try to get another look at the pasuk. Okay. Kol Yemei, it's in the black. Here we go. Kol Yemei Aziro Hashem. All the days of his nizirus to God, Al Nefesh Meis Lo Yovo. Right? I'm going to ask you the question in advance. I want you to tell me the answer. Think, look, and think. This pasuk says, all the days of his Nazirus, you can't be metama to a mace, right?
Right.
Good. Lo yitamo lahem b'mosam, ki nezer elokov al rosho. In this pasuk, anything extra? Anything extra here? Lo avivu l'imo lo achiv l'achosov, lo yitamo lahem b'mosam, ki nezer elokov al rosho. Anything extra?
Same.
Yes, there's one word extra.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which word is extra?
Lo yitma be'em.
Which word?
Yitma, lo yitma. Because you know he can't lo yavo, so you know.
Well, lo yavo is not the same as maybe lo yitamo.
Oh, okay.
Maybe not. I don't know. Okay, it's this word right here.
Lahem?
Sure. Leave out the word lahem.
Oh, lo yitma b'meisam.
Good enough, no?
You lahem.
Okay. The Malbim, brilliantly, on this pasuk, explains the entire Rashi. I don't need the word lahem.
Right.
When it says lo yitama lohem, he's telling you specifically, you are
to
not
them.
mitama, only to them.
Right. Someone else.
Oh, but you can be mitama.
Base mitzvah.
Base mitzvah. There you go.
Okay.
Okay. So that word lahem is the key to the puzzle. It says lo yitama lohem b'mosam. Only to them. But to any other meis mitzvah, la'oviv, you can't be mitama. Meis mitzvah, yes. Le'imo, even if you're a Kohen and a Nazir. Le'imo, no, but to meis mitzvah too. La'achiv, you're a Kohen Gadol, you're a Nazir, you can't be mitama. La'achoso, and to the sister, even if you're forget a Kohen, even if you're an ordinary Jew, and if you are mitama to them, you will not be able to do the Korban Pesach. You will not be able to do it this Milah. Now, not only is Pesach and Milah associated with each other, we learned already that both Pesach and Milah have with them a chiyuv of kares. There's only a say in the Torah that has a chiyuv of kares. Right?
Yeah.
Not only that, but if you don't have a bris milah, what can't you do?
You can't bring the Korban Pesach.
Can't bring the Korban Pesach. So here's a guy on the way to give a bris milah to his son, and if not, the kid cannot have a piece of the Korban Pesach. And this kid wants a piece of the Korban Pesach. He hasn't been able to get a bris milah for whatever reason. He's now 14 years old. Just got out of Russia. Got to give him a bris milah. He wants to eat the Korban Pesach. If he doesn't get the bris milah, he's not going to be able to eat it. And you're on the way to give a bris milah. You can't be mitama. But you can be mitama to a meis mitzvah. Okay?
Rabbi, I still have a question. I still don't see the connection between not being yatame at the same time meis mitzvah. It's like contradicting each other.
Okay, because I don't need to say that you can't be matama to your father and mother, because it already said, al nefesh meis lo yavo. When I am mentioning this specific thing, it's there to be mima'et. It's there to exclude these unique cases that I would think maybe I should be matama, but I can't be, because I've already been told I can't, and it's mentioning it only to teach me that to them you can't be matama, but you can be matama to a meis mitzvah. It's to teach me that a meis mitzvah takes precedence over your father, your mother, your sister, your brother. It takes precedence over your being a Kohen Gadol, and a Nazir. It takes precedence over your going to slaughter a Korban Pesach and give a bris to your son. Mace mitzvah is so great that mace mitzvah knocks everything out of the box. Okay?
Okay.
And the derech of the limit of the Torah is to mention the things that obviously you would think you could be metama to tell you you can't be metama to these guys, but even though these guys are the closest you can get to you can't be metama to them, but you can't be metama to the Meis Mitzvah. And the word lo yitama lahem, to them only you can't be metama, but you can be metama to a Meis Mitzvah. That's the derivation. That's the deduction. Elementary, my dear Watson.
Yeah.
Once you have the deductive powers, you say, I don't need this. Why did it mention it? To deduce that I can be metama to a Meis Mitzvah. The overriding principle here being that Meis Mitzvah you can be metama to. Okay?
Okay.
All right. Let's get back to our Gemara. You're now going back to the Gemara. Okay? So let's get to the Gemara once again. I think this is it. Yep, here it is. Okay. So now let's get back to the Gemara. So the Gemara asked the question, and we're running out of time, but I want to get this done tonight before we go away. Let's go. So let's go. We're back to the original question. Amar Rava, here, let's review very quickly what we learned tonight. Amar Rava, Pshita li avoda mikra Megilah adif. If it comes to the avoda, mikra Megilah comes first. With the Rabbi Yosef and Rabbi Chanina, we learned it out from mishpacha mishpacha. One mishpacha leviyah, one mishpacha kahuna. Talmud Torah, mikra Megilah adif. Mikra Megilah comes first because with the Samchum Shal Beis Rebbe, because of the Kal V'chomer of Beis Rebbe, that the mikra Megilah knocks off Talmud Torah the Yochid. Next, Talmud Torah Meis Mitzvah Odav Midatanya. We know that Meis Mitzvah comes before Talmud Torah from the Brisa. Bevatlan Talmud Torah Lo Tzasa Meis Lach Nosas Kala. Stop. Now, last case. Avoda Meis Mitzvah Odav. When it comes to doing the avoda of the Meis Mitzvah and Meis Mitzvah comes first. V'vil Achoso. From the word V'il Achoso, the Tanya, because we're under the Brisa. It says in the pasuk, and here we heard it, and now we can do it without the Rashi because we learned it. The Tanya. V'la'achoso. Why do you need la'achoso? Ma Talmud Lomar. Hare sha'yaholech. This is the last one. We got rid of him, right? Because even if he's a Nazir, right? He can't be metam to a father, but he can't be metam to a Meis Mitzvah. Le'imo, even if he's a Nazir and a Kohen, right? La'achim, even if he's a Nazir and a Kohen Gadol. Can't get better than that. Now v'la'achoso, ma Talmud Loma, hare, sha'yaholech, lishchot es pischo, v'loma as we know, he's on the way to slaughter the Korban Pesach, or to give a bris milah to his son, both of which are necessary. Otherwise, you get chayav kares and you can't eat the Korban Pesach. V'shamash hameis lo meis, and he hears that one of his relatives died. Yachol yitama, you might think you could be mitama to a relative. Amrit, we say lo yitama. You can't be mitama. Yachol, you might think. Just like you can't be matama to your sister, you cannot be matama. You might think you can't be matama to the sister. You can be not be matama. Avol matama lemeis mitzvah, but you can be matama to a meis mitzvah. Okay.
Yep.
That's what we learned tonight. And we emphasize the Malbim's words, lo yitama lahem b'mo some. There's two Tosfos we have to touch on before we go any further, and they're right here. Actually, three Tosfos, because I'm going to bring up one in the Mesechta Sanhedrin. Yeah, we're a little behind schedule, but we got to do this because I want to end the subject. Here we go. Meis mitzvah other. Okay. Now, what do we say? We said that avoda u'meis mitzvah other. If you have to do the avoda or a meis mitzvah, the meis mitzvah comes first from the word v'la'achoso, right?
Yeah.
Right? Says Tosfos, important piece of information, Abosai. Lav dafka meis mitzvah. Doesn't necessarily mean a meis mitzvah. The truth is, for every mace in the world that's a relative or a good observant Jew, mevatlan Talmud Torah lahotzion. You are mevatel Talmud Torah to make sure that mace gets buried. Ella, The only thing is that we mentioned Meis Mitzvah for a reason. What's that? ID did not cut b'samach kaveh l'achos on Meis Mitzvah. Since the whole limud that we're going to be bringing down is the limud of Meis Mitzvah. That's why it mentioned Meis Mitzvah. Really, it could be any Meis. The truth is,
Oh,
the
comparing time.
Talmud Torah l'tzaz ha-Meis.
Yeah.
When I was in the yeshiva, in the Veres Yerushalayim, the Aaron Kotler was nifter. The whole yeshiva walked out of the yeshiva with the Rosh Yeshiva. We went to Rav Aaron's Levaya 2 blocks away in the Pike Street Shul. 100,000 people. Mevatlan Talmud Torah, the Meis Mitzvah. Okay. I just Tosfos we can wait for next week too, but I did want to get to one other Tosfos, and this one is a very important one. So we're gonna try to get it now. Can I get it here? Oop. No, I'll have to go back here. Let me get this down, and we're gonna get it right over here. This should be it. Yep, here it is. This is Sanhedrin Daf Lamed Hey Yomid Aleph. You see it?
Yeah.
Sanhedrin Lamed Hey Yomid Aleph. There's a similar discussion here in the Gemorah in Sanhedrin. Okay, Lo Aviv Le'imo. We learned this pasuk tonight, right? You remember what we learned about Lo Aviv Le'imo? Talk about Kohen and Nazir, right?
Right.
Okay. Le'imo Dashina LeKohen and Nazir, right? That's what we learned out from Imo. He's a Kohen and a Nazir. From Achiv, we learned Kohen Gadol and a Nazir. Here, we're just learning Kohen and a Nazir, right? Now, wait a minute. Here's the kasha. Remember what I asked you at the beginning of the Shiur? Who's stricter, the Nazir or the Kohen?
Nazir.
The Nazir. So why do you have to give me this business that the guy is a Nazir and a Kohen? What's the difference? I don't care if he's a Kohen also.
Right, you take the strictness of the Nazir.
Nazir is anyway more strict.
Yeah.
What's this business of comparing the Kohen and the Nazir? That's Tosfos' kasha.
It's more kedusha. I don't know. Maybe it's more kedusha.
Oh.
Yeah.
That, you know the problem with Mordechai is he learned this Tosfos last night, and now he tells it to us. Okay, good. Va'av agav the Nazir chamor, the ein metama lekrovim. A Nazir can't be metama to any krovim. The Kohen hedget metama lekrovim,
Right.
and a Kohen hedget can be metama to krovim. Mikol makom salka daitach. I might think the mitzvah that it's still going to be more usher. Why? Mishum Kohen hedyot kivan de ikatarti. Oh, because even though he's a Kohen hedyot, but he has another kedusha. You're right. A Kohen is not as kadosh as a Nazir in terms of being metama. But now that he's a Nazir and a Kohen, you might think, okay, a plain Kohen is not so hot on the level. But once he's a Kohen and a Nazir, that should be such a powerhouse of Kedusha that he can't be Matama even to a Meis Mitzvah. That's the old Kohen Hedjot Odev Shezek Kedusha Olam. Wow. A Kohen Hedjot really has something over a Nazir.
Oh, Nazir temporarily. Right.
Stam Naziros.
30 days.
Lamed Yom. Well, a Kohen is
Lifetime.
forever, says Tosfos. Okay, so that's a beautiful answer. 2 beautiful answers here in this Tosfos. Okay, let's get back to where we were. Okay, see if we can't finish this up now. Okay, all right. All right. I will stop by Boy Rava. We'll pick it up from here, Yes Hashem, next week. Okay? From Boy Rava. This was a very important sugya. This Rashi that we learned today appears a few times in Shas. Okay? It appears a few times in Shas. Here, look, right by the word V'la'achoso. You see it right here?
Yeah.
How many times does it appear in Shas?
Brachas, Nazir, and Hedwig.
4 times. You learned this. Listen, I once heard from one of the Gedolim, I don't remember who it was. I think it was, I'm pretty sure it was Rav Shechter, right? I'm pretty sure it was Rav Shechter from Yeshiva University who said it's not so hard. Well, when he says it, I take it as a grain of salt because man knows all of Shas by heart. But he said it's not so hard to know Shas by heart. Gemaras are repeated over and over and over again.
Yeah.
So you know this Gemara here. Now all of a sudden you know the Gemara in Brachos, you know the Gemara in Nozi, you know the Gemara in Zvachim. So I just learned four Mesechtas with this Gemara. So now it's not so hard. That's why he said, right, it's not so hard to know Shas. But you see, this is one of those famous dictums in Shas that appears 4 times. So we now learn 4 separate Gemaras, and we know 4 separate Gemaras. Okay, we'll pick it up from here in Yitz Hashem next time. Okay.
So bottom line, Rebbe, bottom line is Noze is allowed to be metama to everybody, to Mes Mitzvah.
Only a Mes Mitzvah.
Only a Mes Mitzvah, where a Kohen or Kohen Gudel or a Kohen is not allowed to.
No, Kohen Gadol.
No, is allowed to, but to their parents not.
No, a Kohen's allowed to be metama to his parents.
Kohen Gadol can't.
The Nazir can.
A Nazir
Kohen
cannot be.
can.
A Nazir,
Kohen knows it,
a
right?
Nazir cannot be metama to his parents or his blood relatives. A Kohen
Only to Mes Mitzvah.
only Mes Mitzvah.
Kohen Gadol, same thing, right?
A Kohen Gadol is the same thing.
Mace Mitzvah, right?
They're all the same thing.
No,
No, Kohen Gadol knows it.
a regular Kohen can be metama to his parents and to brothers and sisters.
Sister, that's not married.
Okay, so a Kohen is more lenient than a Nazir.
What a powerful Gemorah this week.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now try to remember that Gemara in Sanhedrin, the last answer, which he said. Remember, there is a difference between a Kohen and a Nazir. A Nazir stam Nazirus lamed yom,
Right.
while a Kohen is forever. So maybe that's why if a Nazir and a Kohen got together, you might think it's a double whammy, and you can't be matam.
Right.
Okay. So this little piece of Gemara in Mesechta Megilah is very crucial, and it's a Shas Gemara.
Yeah.
It's something that appears 4 times in Shas, and now we know 4 places in Shas. Okay, let's see if we can stop the share. Okay. All right, and we're back here. Okay, and any questions?
What is
All right.
exactly
We asked
amazing?
all the questions
What is
we
exactly-
had to ask.
I'm sorry, David. Yeah.
What's exactly a Mace Mitzvah?
All right. We discussed a little bit at the beginning of the Shiur that there are different levels of Meis Mitzvah. All right. And we're going to see that the Tosfos that I skipped, I'll have to come back to it next week. That Tosfos tells us a little bit more about what is considered Meis Mitzvah. Basically, a Meis Mitzvah is someone who has she'ein lo kovrin, someone who doesn't have anyone to bury him.
Now, could that be a relative?
Yes.
So let's say a Cohen's sister, yeah? That he's
Yeah.
not allowed to be Matama. Generally, she could be
A Kohen can be
Mace
Matama
Mitzvah.
to his sister.
If she's not married,
Yeah.
No, if it's a Kohen Gadol and a Nazir,
A Nazir
he
can't
could
be
be
Matama to his
he
sister.
could be.
A Nazir
could
can't
be-
be Matama to his sister, but he can be Matama to a Meis Mitzvah.
But if she is a Mes
If she's a
Mitzvah,
Meis Mitzvah, she
he
can be
could.
Matama to her. Yes.
of course.
That's no
Yes.
what? Okay.
Yes. The
Why
other
would you,
The other Meis Mitzvah I mentioned at the beginning of the Shiur, and I'll reiterate it. There are certain levels of people that it's such a mitzvah to go to that we're mevatlim Talmud Torah to go to them because it's a Meis Mitzvah to go and be matama to them. If the Gadol Hadar dies and all the yeshivas don't come, it's a shame. So therefore, he's in the category of Meis Mitzvah. All right. It's a very broad category, and there are a lot of different definitions, and you have to know when to apply it. It's not a simple definition. Right? We should be zeicher that there shouldn't be any Meis Mitzvahs, that's all. Everybody should have the proper burial, the proper care. No one lives forever. Sorry to shock you if you didn't know this, but that's the reality. And Hashem should bless everybody with gesund. And we should continue to learn Torah.
Go ahead, Rabbi. Go ahead, as
Have a good
usual.
night, everybody. Tomorrow
Thank you.
morning,
Rebbe,
Daf Yomi.
Rebbe.
Rebbe, good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Bear will have a good night.
Thursday night, 8:30.
8:30 Thursday.
Zion,
Brother, good night.
Good night, good night, good night.
Yeah, good night, everybody.
Everybody, good night.
Night.